Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimberly Carlo, and this is Region 7 Presents State of Data Librarianship. During our time here, we'll be discussing the core functions within data librarianship, the expectations of data librarians, emerging topics in the field, and resources for anyone who is interested in this path of work. The goal of this presentation is to inform early career librarians about that path of work, let established librarians know about another potential career choice, and to let established data librarians know about the work done at other institutions to inspire their own work. Quickly before we get started, I do want to let everyone know that this class has been approved for MLA CE credit, but there's been a delay in the code to receive the credit, so I'll leave my email address for anyone who wants to contact me to receive that code for when they provide me with the code. All right, so without further ado, I want to give each of our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. So, all right, we'll start with Alfredo.
Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the invite. I'm very happy to be here and talk about data librarianship and stewardship and about all the responsibilities that as data librarianships we have. I hope you can, for the audience that is watching this and listening live or maybe recorded, I hope you can find a lot of answers to your questions here and also an idea of what exactly data librarians or research data librarians do. As you will see, we are kind of like interdisciplinary people because there's no specific data librarianship career, at least the area is too new for that. It's kind of defining itself, so you will see that is a common aspect. So my name is Alfredo Gonzalez, and I am the Research Data Services Librarian at Carnegie Mellon University. Um, my background is in research. I have a bachelor in chemistry and a master's and PhD in physics, but all my research, scientific research, has always been data oriented. So I am very familiar with a lot of ways of data processing and data management that has allowed me to actually support a lot of the people here at CMU because they come with different type of questions, not only about data, but also data in context of the research, which is something very important that I think we're going to be talking about. So my main duties in Carnegie Mellon is curate data deposits that are going to be deposited in our institutional repository. We have a repository that is based on Fixture. It's called GitHub and is a repository where we publish almost any kind of research output that our community produces. Of course, they have the options to deposit in our repository, or they have also other options that maybe they're more aligned with the community standards that they are working in. But we have that for them also. I also do a lot of data management plan reviews. A lot of researchers here at CMU, they depend on grants coming from the federal government. And I think this is going to be something that we are going to be talking about too, about how these policies have changed in the past few years and how researchers are required now to include data management plans. So this is like a very kind of a new practice that researchers are doing now. So they actually require a lot of support for this, making sure that their data management plans comply with all the requisites or policies that the federal government established. I also do some type of research. My position, you also will see that positions in librarianship, in academic librarianship, they can be either staff or faculty. Staff are positions that are usually, you have duties like more defined. You don't usually do research. I guess some people that are staff do research, but the faculty positions, one of the main differences are that faculty are allowed to do research and they do have some type of freedom around that. Of course, like all research should align with the vision of the libraries. So a lot of my research is adjacent to the methods that we use here, either to augment metadata, to organize objects, digital artifacts, or categorize them. Um, and personally, I'm also interested in digital humanities and also cultural evolution, trying to quantify aspects of arts and humanities that are more ambiguous, trying to kind of like make them more concrete and quantifiable. Well, this is my profile, and I'm very happy to answer questions or like to elaborate on any of the subjects that we're gonna talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So now it's Lloyda's turn.
Hi everyone. My name is Loida. I'm the Research Impact Librarian at NYU Langone Health Sciences Library. I am currently getting over a cold, so please bear with me. Um, I am very excited to be here. I graduated with my MLIS from UIUC in 2022, I think, 23. I can't remember, but it's pretty recent. I've been working here for 2 years. Um, my background is actually in publishing and digital humanities, and I kind of made the pivot to a more data focused role. Research impact is really fascinating. I'm always happy to discuss research impact with anyone and everyone who wants to listen. And we're going to be talking about some interesting things in this workshop, and I'm always really happy to answer any questions.
All right. And we'll hand it over to Jocelyn.
Thank you, Kimberly. Hi, I'm Jocelyn Swick Jemison. I am the Data Services Librarian for the University at Buffalo. I work out of our Health Sciences Library, mainly supporting our health sciences faculty and graduate students with their research, although I am here for everyone on campus as I am the only Data Services Librarian on a very large campus. A little bit about me. My educational background is in computer science. I had a previous career in clinical data management for large clinical trials, transitioned to librarianship, and spent 5 years teaching information literacy to first-year students. And now I have combined those two careers into one in this data services role. So my day-to-day is varies, reviewing data management plans, doing research consultations, helping people set up their databases or their surveys for data collection. Also a lot of teaching, teaching data literacy. I'm a carpentries instructor, so a group of us do carpentries workshops here too. I am also a faculty librarian, so I'm expected to do research, and my research focuses are on methods for teaching information or data literacy, I should say, and health information literacy since I am on the health sciences campus. I've done quite a bit of research on supporting how to best support academic librarians, especially transitioning from one role to another. And then I have a little niche research interest in neurodivergence in librarianship. So I've written a couple papers on that too. Yeah, I'm always open to any questions. This is kind of a unique field of librarianship that I am really excited about. And you'll find that it varies. Every data librarian, their job is a little bit different. Oftentimes it's up to you to kind of shape what that role looks like. I encourage you to ask a lot of questions, and thank you for having me.
Thank you all for being here today. What made you choose data librarianship as a career? Was this a planned choice? Did you guys just fall into it? Um, so let's see. I was gonna have a randomizer to choose you guys' names. Okay, we'll start with Jocelyn, Loida, Alfredo, and we'll switch it up. I'll find the randomizer in the meantime if I can.
All right, happy to go first. So I shared a little bit of this in my introduction, but just I would say, I was randomly assigned to the library as a work study student my freshman year of college. I decided then that I would eventually become a librarian. Went on to get my degree in computer science, and then was kind of swept right into a job doing clinical data management for large clinical trials. I did that for 13 years before kind of making the jump back to librarianship, quite possibly spurred by the 2016 elections and misinformation. And so then, like I said, I was teaching information literacy to first year students, which was really a passion of mine when uh, this data services position opened up, and it was seemed like a ridiculously good fit, kind of like my two worlds combining. And so no, it wasn't a conscious choice. When I was in library school, and I started in 2006, graduated in 2009. This was not a thing. If it had been, I most definitely would have pursued it. Um, but yeah, kind of fell into it. But so far, it's seemingly a good fit, and I'm happy. I'm happy that this is where I landed.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Okay, I guess I'm next. I'm trying to think of like the most like the straightest path, like kind of a quirky um uh jumble. So I my bachelor's was in philosophy. I had a deep interest in linguistics, and then I couldn't get a job and I decided to just go into publishing. So I worked in at Penguin Random House for 2 years, and I decided that publishing was not for me anymore. And I had this idea of being an ontologist, actually. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And but I didn't really know what to do, so I just decided to go for my MLIS at UIUC. And while I was there, I quickly kind of gravitated towards um, scholarly communications. I had assistantship there, and I was really intrigued with digital humanities, which I've heard from other data librarians is kind of like an entryway. Like you start with digital humanities and then suddenly you stay, like you find yourself in a different field. Um, and so while I was there, you know, for my digital humanities classes, I decided to take more like coding, more data focused courses, and then I ended up getting an internship with the NCDS. And that's where I had like more formal experience with like a hands-on project. Um, and I decided that I just wanted to do it. And so I started applying to jobs, and I really I will say I'm making it sound like it was like, oh, very casual, but I was very intentional with taking the courses that I was interested in and tailoring my coursework for job descriptions out there. So it wasn't really a planned choice, but as I got further along in my degree, I think I made that choice to focus on data librarianship.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like I have a similar kind of background story, so I really relate. Alfredo, you next.
Yeah, so as many of you already uh, this is not like a straight, this is still not like a straightforward profession. I actually, my path was similar in the sense that I was switching from different fields, but also a little bit different because I always knew I wanted to be in academia, but I was not fully convinced of the traditional model for having a lab and being a PI and that kind of stuff. And mostly because of my background, because the way I started studying was just looking for the things that I was passionate about. And so I had to switch like topics in my thesis, in each of my theses, until I realized that I like to work with interdisciplinary people and to work in different projects that can have different type of impact in the community. So I actually was transitioning out from having an academic pathway. I was trying to find positions in industry after my first, no, after my second postdoc at Penn. Um, and what I found, and I was also trying to find staff positions because I knew that some staff positions can be very technical and can be also be very collaborative and I don't know, being in a lab as a technician and knowing a lot about something, which is kind of what I already know because I have advanced degrees in physics and in mostly in physics. So I was trying to find a staff position in a university where I can use my abilities, my knowledge to collaborate in different projects. So I actually applied first to an open science postdoc in the libraries at CMU because I thought it was a very interesting type of position, and they were promoting reproducibility, which is something I am very interested in scientific studies. Uh, I have always had this sentiment of like we need to optimize all the workflows we have. We need to have all our studies be reproducible enough and also be easy to reproduce. So it felt like a perfect match for me, the postdoc. But to my luck, when I applied to the postdoc, the committee told me that they actually had a faculty position for data librarian that hasn't filled yet at CMU. And they thought I was a good match, a good fit for it. And that's actually how it happened. And I'm discovering a lot about librarianship and stewardship. And I can say that I can't be more happy to have a very incredible working environment because librarians are amazing. Like they're probably the best people to work with. My colleagues at CMU are great. They also have different backgrounds, by the way. We have STEM librarians that also have a more traditional academic background in chemistry or engineering or computer science. So the team, fortunately, is very diverse in disciplines, and that actually I think that that makes the work environment also better and more, I would say, more creative in some way, but also you have different perspectives, and I think having different perspectives sometimes enriches the work environment a lot. So that's how I got to CMU. That was kind of like random, I guess you can describe it that way, but it is something I was looking for. Like I am very happy with this type of position. I still can do research in what I want, I'm interested in, and also, of course, research that can help others in the libraries to do their work too.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So we'll go into the daily responsibilities of a data librarian. So let's switch up the order. We'll do Loida, Alfredo, and Jocelyn.
Great, thank you. So I uh, have like I think my position is a little bit different than a lot of I guess traditional data librarians. My main responsibilities are maintaining the faculty bibliography at NYU Langone, which is um, our database of publications from NYU Langone authors. And so my role is really, I think, fun. I'll say fun. It's interesting because I do a lot of technical work. I work with our programmers and our different, departments to maintain our database. So that's a lot of SQL. That's a lot of mapping out different data models because we're currently in the process of moving towards a new data model for our database. Um, that is a lot of coding as well. And then I also have the responsibility of communicating what various research metrics mean to people. So it's a combination of really fun data cleaning. I feel like that's very common in our field. So it's a lot of that, but there's also a lot of communication happening. I also am in charge of, creating various reports for department heads, for individuals. Um, a lot of the time, though, the most interesting parts of the job is having those conversations with department heads and people who are requesting this information because you have to be able to present the data that you're giving them. You have to present it in a kind of digestible way. And a lot of times, that's where kind of the fun happens for me, at least. But I definitely have a lot of days where it's just sitting and doing a lot of data cleaning, a lot of data entry, a lot of maintenance work, which is kind of fun. I have a playlist that I have for these moments. Um, I would love to hear some recommendations. I'm sure people have them. I think everyone does at my job. There's a lot of Shakira in there. It's my favorite. Um, but yeah, I think that is, that's a lot of my daily responsibilities is a lot of data viz, a lot of reporting, a lot of data cleaning, but a lot of interesting conversations. So yes, Shakira is a must. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Yeah, if we can make a collaborative data librarian playlist on Spotify or something,
We
make it
should. That
happen.
would be amazing.
Uh, all right. I forget who I said who was next. I think it was Alfredo, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I think it's
Okay.
me. So my again, like we mentioned, responsibilities are different depending on where you're working, because of course the responsibilities will be adapted to the community. So in my case here at CMU, the way the library works is we have different type of divisions, and my division is called academic engagement. And in academic engagement we do a lot is what it says. The title is we do a lot of outreach to patrons in the community, and we do a lot of training sessions. So I can tell you all a little bit of how I have managed to organize my week, which has been good so far. I haven't found any uh, problems with it. What I usually do is I take one of the days, I allocate it only for working in research, because I cannot do research without focusing at least a couple of hours on it. It's very hard for me to focus on specifics when it comes to research. So what I do is I leave my Fridays kind of allocated for full research. And from Monday to Thursday, I usually do all the other stuff, which involves meetings with colleagues, a lot of meetings with colleagues to work, organize our outreach, organize how we communicate with students. I am part of data and code support, which is a service we also provide. Is some type of consulting service for students, faculty, and staff if they have any issues with their code. Depending on what language, I can help students. Also, if they have issues managing data and the kind of loading data and plotting, like visualizations, we do a lot of support on visualization. And these are consultations, but also we have workshops like any other libraries. And those workshops, uh, those workshops are mostly focused on what the students need. So I have been working on designing also workshop materials for very introductory workshops on Git, how to work with Git, how to work with text analysis. We are also developing new workshops on how to use AI to integrate chatbots in your everyday work. So these are kind of complementary workshops, are not class specific, but more like these are tools that you can use to complement your studies, or like to do your homework, or like to actually understand things that you are using in your classes. So it's mostly that in the workshops, though we have opportunities to create more sophisticated ones, like series of workshops in machine learning, or again, text analysis is getting very popular in humanities. And I also have the responsibility of curating every data set that gets deposited in our institutional repository. So we have a team. We only are 2 people actually right now. I hope we won't need more people, but we'll see. We are actually developing some systematic curatorial workflows, so we can also reduce workload on our like human part of the workflow. So that is the other part. And we do curate some software, but our institutional repository doesn't focus on software. It's actually not designed for software. So we are actually getting more, a different part of the libraries is in charge of that part of it. I think we are trying to get GitHub Enterprise for some type of functionality for the classes and also for developers. I don't know what is the status of that, but we were told that we were going to have that type of support too, but we don't offer a data. We only make sure that any software that gets deposited in GitHub, it is just clear how to run it and it runs. We don't necessarily curate the code itself. At least we don't have that support. But we do create like tables or data sets that other researchers deposit. This curatorial process, of course, involves, it can be very simple or very complicated depending on the data set you are curating. But one of the main components is just making sure they have a very well-documented README, and also the data is simple to understand, at least simple enough for someone that is not familiar with everything can actually follow the instructions. So those are my main responsibilities. I have another one though. Speaking about the outreach that we need to do to patrons, something that has been very challenging, and I am not really sure if I speak for my other colleagues here, but is trying to make all these best practices of data management kind of adopted by the community. That has been very challenging because it is, these are things that are kind of habits that you need to develop, like maintenance habits, like showering, like cleaning your clothes, because if you don't do them, eventually you will need to intervene. It's kind of like a medical intervention. So the best way of being healthy is to have good health habits. So you can approach data management in a similar way. So what we need to tell people or communicate is how important this is. So you don't need our intervention when your project is dying because you don't have a data management plan, for example. So that has been the most challenging part. And for that, we have a program of community building, like bottom to top, which is oriented on fostering good data management practices across campus. We have around 30 members. The program is open for faculty, staff, and students. Most of them are graduate students. And what we do is we offer them exclusive workshops on research data management. We are also teaching them how to build metadata schemas. And we will be supporting them this whole year on data management plans for their labs. And also some type of tools and documentation for how to do knowledge transfer when students or members of the lab need to leave the lab, how you actually make the transfer of this knowledge that they are leaving efficient. So that also requires a lot of documentation, data management. And we have been working on that through this community. It's called the Tartan Research Data Alliance. And we also give them some exclusive mixers with faculty and librarians, staff librarians. So we can also get to know the students and we can talk to them, have some feedback from them, what works, what doesn't work from them with regarding workshops, regarding services we have, what other services they might need, what support they want. So these are the main, I would say, duties that I have and how we implement them.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jocelyn?
Alfredo, that Research Data Alliance sounds amazing. It also sounds like an incredible amount of work. But, yes, and Loida, my years of data management, Shakira was definitely on repeat because data management can sometimes be boring. Um, so my daily responsibilities, I was essentially brought on right as the NIH was changing their uh, requirements for data management plans. So that was the expectation, is that I would be like reviewing data management plans all the time. And I do every once in a while, but the demand has not been quite what they thought it would be. And like what Alfredo was saying, a lot of what I am doing ends up being kind of trying to figure out data management practices as they already are on campus and figuring out how I can infiltrate and teach them how to do it better. Um, because I've discovered that every department does it differently, every lab does it differently, every faculty member does it differently. And my 13 years of managing clinical trials has made me a little bit uptight about how data management gets done, and I want to share those best practices with people. So that's a lot of what I do is reaching out, but also maintaining a comprehensive website with data management resources, and not just outside of campus, but also like if you're on campus and you need a data use agreement, where do you go? Like it's not always very clear. So I like to maintain those resources for my users. I do some data management consultations when usually those are for students when they're just setting things up for their studies. I teach a lot of workshops. Because I am just one person, I really can't focus on one-on-one consultations. I have been explicitly told to not offer any sort of data curation because it would just get too overwhelming. And our institutional repository doesn't take data sets anyway, so that's like kind of a different thing. So I do a lot of workshops, both oftentimes faculty will request that I come and talk to their lab or talk to their students. And so I'll do that. But then a lot of them are online. Basic research data management. I do one on tidy data. I do teach about Open Refine. I'm big on reaching out to students who don't get data science instruction elsewhere. If they're like a public health student or a nursing student and they still have to deal with data, but they've never coded anything in their life. That's kind of our little niche here, is to offer those that kind of programming for students who wouldn't otherwise get it. Um, and students basically who are expected to learn it on their own. So I do that. Also, as part of being a faculty librarian, I'm expected to participate in national organizations. So I participate with RDAP, the Data Curation Network, and of course, MLA. I serve on a couple of committees within the library. I also have a reference shift every week for the Health Sciences Library. And then, of course, I've got to squeeze in my research and writing wherever I can.
So many various duties
Yeah.
of the librarian from all of you guys. All right, so let's go into coding. How much coding knowledge do data librarians, expect to have, and if there's any languages you guys recommend people? We'll start with Alfredo, Jocelyn, and then Loida.
So I'm going to be very quick because I want the other panelists to talk more than me. I think this question is, it will depend on where you're working. I feel like this is, again, very community like oriented. And also, something that you will notice, and something that I have noticed too in these groups that we have been participating in, like the data curation network. I am also part of the network. Is that every institution is different, and each institution has different needs, and not only the needs, but the way the institution is organized is also very important in how you are going to deliver the services, and how you're going to outreach, and how you're going to try uh, to do your duties. So I will say this will depend on where you are, but knowing how to code will help you a lot, regardless of where you're working. So I will say you don't need to be a coding expert. And nowadays with chatbots, everything is easier for coding, but you might need to know how to read code. At least the code, the languages that the researchers use the most, which is Python, R, um, and I guess more. You can also learn more technical languages, but I will say Python and R, and how to create Markdown or documentation. These type of things are very important. JSON, what are JSON structures, and how to interpret them. Um, these are things that are technical and are important. You don't need to have a lot of that, but you need to be able to read them. Yes.
And I agree. I had taken some notes for myself previously about this question, and my first note is this varies greatly. I know plenty of data services librarians who have no background in coding and in general don't really do that. And there's enough work in research data services that you don't necessarily have to dig into that part of it. Of course, with my background, I have chosen to do so. But as far as languages go, like Alfredo said, I think it's almost more the specific language is less important than understanding kind of programmatic thinking and and database setup and really understanding how the different pieces of data work together. Um, because I mean, I personally, I wouldn't be comfortable necessarily reviewing anybody's code unless it were super, super simple, like carpentry style. But I think my understanding of how databases are designed helps me to teach other people to do so as well. And everybody here knows I'm a real stickler for data standardization for that reusability component. But so my because I'm old, my programming skills were in Java and C++, which again are very kind of basic languages that can easily translate to other languages. When I got into this role, I was determined I was going to learn R and Python, and then I realized that was too much, and I went with R. Like I was just like, gotta choose one or the other, and it really doesn't matter. It, like, it truly doesn't. And especially when you're using, you use your resources. We are librarians after all. We know how to look things up, and trust me, all coders look things up. And of course, and using chatbots can be extremely helpful as well. So yeah, I would say R or Python, but basically just be comfortable in that environment. You don't have to be an expert by any means.
I'll go really quickly. I agree with everything everyone has said. I think maybe when I put myself back in like the shoes of um someone who's job hunting, I think that, creates some anxiety when you see a lot of the job postings and there's like a requirement. Really, you just have to be comfortable understanding. code, you know, take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there. There are so many. Um, you can figure it out. You don't have to be an expert at all. I'm part of the data services team at NYU Langone Health, and I mean, there's the whole spectrum. There's like some colleagues in there that don't have any experience coding, don't really touch it at all. Um, you know, they work in different areas, and we have people who are really on it and a lot better than I am. So you don't have to be an expert. The languages I learned were Python and SQL. That's been very helpful for me for my role. I will say that it definitely depends. I mean, my predecessor wrote in Perl, which I've never ever seen before. I wish I knew how
That's
to
even
read
older
it.
than me.
Yeah, I wish I knew all of it is in Perl, and I just kind of look at it and I'm like, ooh, that's very confusing. Oh yes, APIs are very important. I use APIs all the time. I use EUtils all the time. I was working on code the other day to like pull from Overton, just being familiar with databases too, like whatever you work with is good to do to know as well.
All very comforting answers. I just want to quickly check in with my panelists to see if we did go over time, what would you all be comfortable with?
I'm good.
Yeah. Alfredo, you too, or yeah, I won't keep you guys too long, I promise. We'll skip over some of the questions. I saw some people in the chat also talking about AI, so I definitely wanted to tackle this question. So I know it's a big interest. So how has AI affected your work? Let's see. We'll start with Loida, Jocelyn, Alfredo. I'm trying to remember who's gone first, but it, all right, we'll do that. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I won't keep you guys like too long. Don't worry.
Um, yeah, so I work a lot with publication data. Um, with our database, so we have a homegrown database, which means that we have complete control, but it also means that there are a lot of processes that are a little tedious. Part of that is uploading new members to our database. It's been a really manual process before me. Basically, to do a really quick summary of what this looked like was I really love talking about my predecessor because he was really cool. I wish I had more time with him. He would print out the CVs of people and then one by one cross out publications to add to our database. And that was really time consuming. And right when I started, NYU Langone made a really big push to implement AI into our workflows. So there was a little bit of pressure. Everyone kind of started, in the library, we started doing workshops to teach people things like prompt engineering, things like that. Um, and for my work specifically, I ended up using the ChatGPT API that was available, our institutional instance of it, to create code to process CVs for me, and basically also use the EUtils API to pull PMIDs to make uploading faster. Um, well, I mean, I'll say that it was kind of helpful. It's not perfect. I have some concerns about it, but I will say that it was very, very fast. Like it happened very quickly. In the beginning of like last year or like right when I started 2 years ago, this was barely it was a topic that we were aware of, but not very involved with, to like 2 years later, where that's pretty much, a lot of our focus at the library is learning how to use tools that are popping up, trying to teach patrons to be responsible and to understand what these things are, because a lot of the times with my colleagues, I notice that patrons don't really know what they're supposed or like how to use these tools in a responsible way. So I will also venture and guess that depending on the institution, you'll have like different experience and different access, and your patrons will too. So that will probably affect the way you interact with it. For my institution, there has been a big push. I will say that there's a bit of unease, right? People either really love it or really hate it. Doesn't seem to be an in-between, but it definitely is present. So there's a lot of questions, and I don't have all the answers. It's just kind of there. For sure, the library, I think, has a place in guiding these conversations, and we'll see how it goes, is what I say. But it's really fast. I mean, the way this is developed, I think everyone has been surprised because it's been really, really fast.
Yeah, I agree. It has been really fast. And as somebody who, I mean, I can remember the days when we were told that the internet would destroy librarianship, and now we're being told that AI will do the same thing. But this is going way faster. Um, anyway, so for me, I mean, I'm at the University at Buffalo. If you're familiar with the SUNY system, the governor has put a ton of money into UB for specifically for an AI. I don't even know what it's called, some sort of center. Um, so basically, everything at UB right now is AI. As a library, as librarians, my colleagues and I are a bit skeptical. We're nervous. Um, Not because we don't think it can't do great things, but because the university is not focused on AI literacy. They just want, the big data centers and the fast computers and the fancy stuff. And we're concerned about users. And, I do still do some reference, and I can tell you we've all seen the chat patron who says, "Hey, I can't find this article. Can you get it for me?" And we realize that it was invented by AI and it doesn't exist. So the need for the AI literacy is big. We are exploring ways to address that. In fact, it's our philosophy liaison librarian who is currently teaching prompt engineering. And the libraries have started a little kind of what do they call it, AI and humanity or something like that, to kind of try to bridge that gap a little bit because the university is not addressing it. Um, Personally, we have Copilot as part of our Microsoft 365. I can't say I don't use it. I mean, I just for Copilot, I will use for things like editing documents, revising documents. I do like Claude AI for coding. Um, but just being, I think one of the education pieces that's important that I know my colleagues are dealing with is understanding um, copyright when it comes to AI, because I know we know that we have faculty who are putting copyrighted articles into AI, and for various reasons. And again, trying to educate on that. The other thing I was told by someone high up in our research infrastructure here that they were told that we must assume from now on that any data set we see will at least partially be coming from AI. And I don't know how valid that is, but I think she had a point that this is one thing that, I mean, not only can AI make up articles, it can certainly make up fake data sets. And so one of the things as a data librarian that I focus on is helping researchers find a data set to reuse that will fit their research. And so I think that's going to become important is being able to identify when a data set was generated by AI as opposed to an actual researcher. Um, And I think, personally think that AI, the future of data curation is going to lay in AI. I think that's really when I look at it and think, well, what can we use this for? That's what I see, is that it could be really great for that, for data curation, because there's never enough data curators. Alfredo?
Yeah, so um, like my colleagues said, I think AI, of course, has affected our work in many different ways. I will describe it in probably three different ways. One is like the community, how it affects students and faculty, um, how it affects our work, and because we also have a lot of products and services that we provide to the communities, how it affects our services. So I have seen uh, an impact of what we call AI, because I feel like we need to also communicate that this is not AI, this is something that they call AI. This is just a language model. Uh, so we can demystify these type of things. So one of the hardest part, as Jocelyn said, is how to create literacy resources for the community. So we have been working a lot on creating workshops and also creating examples, guides on how you can use these tools, these chatbots, what they can do and how they can help you to do some tasks that, as Loida said, they can be repetitive. I think there can be a lot of use cases in very small repetitive tasks. One of the visions we're trying to push in CMU, because CMU is well known from its involvement with machine learning and computer science. We have this kind of environment where we think we can dominate, these artifacts, but I feel like everyone feels overconfident about it. And I think the same way my peers say, I think it is moving way faster than we can handle. And we need to kind of like, at least from our part in the librarianship, we need to know when to put on brakes and how to avoid all these issues that students and faculty or staff can get into. In my personal work, I use it not very often. I will say I use it 3 to 5 times a week. But when I use it a lot in the sense that these tools, to me, they don't represent, or they are not good to do tasks themselves. They are good to just do approximate tasks, like things that might be what you want, but it's not what you want. So, and even if you refine as much as you want your prompt, what they call prompt design or prompt engineering, you will still get something that is not exactly what you want. So the way of using these things for me has always been very iterative, and I use them a lot for things that are very well defined already in literature, which is, I think, the way you should use them, because they are literally trained on data. They will reproduce the data they were trained on. So for things like tables, things like diagrams, things like even charts, I use them a lot for these type of things. They're actually very useful. HTML design, also very useful. So I think these tools can be very useful if you give them the right use case. The problem is that, I don't know, the people who sell these things, they are trying to say they are magical, and that's what the confusion is about. I think this is my own personal perspective, but I will say that this will change a lot. It's already changing our personal, or even team workflows is changing. We do assign some of the tasks to these chatbots in a way that they are controllable. So we are trying to push for a human-controlled AI, even though if we are not sure that's going to be the kind of the consensus, but we want that to be the case. If that makes sense.
Okay. Mm, all right. So I guess to save time, I want to talk about any in-demand skills or any resources that any of you can recommend to anyone who's looking to work in data librarianship. Let's see. So we'll start with Jocelyn, then we'll do Alfredo, and then Loida.
All right. So I think in large part data librarianship can kind of go in two general directions. One being kind of a little bit more what I do, which is the education piece, and then a little bit more like what Luida and Alfredo do, which is kind of more hands-on with the data. So depending on what direction you and your employer are going in, I would say basic coding skills, but even more than coding, kind of data analysis skills, which is a different skill set than coding, but understanding how to ask questions of the data that you're seeing in front of you. And of course, data visualization. A lot of the visualization that you can learn has nothing, you can do it without coding at all. Like I use Power BI a lot, or there's the Google version too. You don't actually Looker Studio, that one. You don't necessarily have to be able to code. You do have to understand the structure of the data and how to ask it questions. There's a lot of online programs to help you with coding. I've used DataCamp, Data Trail, and Data Quest. I've used all of those. They're all, kind of little gamified things to help you learn code. Um, and I would say learning to do a reference interview when it comes to somebody who's looking for a data set. Um, it's very similar to the reference interview that you might have learned in library school, but there are little differences that also come down to understanding the structure of the data that they're looking for, and what questions they want to answer with it. So um, if anybody was at MLA this year in Pittsburgh, there was a great workshop on conducting that data interview. And yeah, so that's what I would recommend.
Did I say, I don't know who I said was next. Was it Alfredo or Loida? Sorry. Either, whoever wants to go.
I can go.
Okay.
So yeah, um I actually wanted to talk a little bit about some I guess like another set of skills that I find very helpful in my role. When I applied to my job, it was clear that, yeah, I had, the programming skills and, all of that jazz, that you can pretty much find so many resources out there. But what I think is something that is often overlooked, is just being able to have conversations with people. And what I mean by that is, I talked a lot about how my favorite part of the job is having conversations with people to explain the data that I'm giving to them. And I'll give you a kind of a scenario. Um, a few months ago, or like every like quarterly or whenever, I have to put together part of the data that's submitted for promotion and tenure reports. And we are recently called to have a conversation with the PNT committee. And that was a lot of defending some of the choices we made with including and excluding some research metrics. So being able to um, understand what you're working with and being able to communicate that to someone else in a tactful way too, because oftentimes, well, at least in my position, right, I'm working with people who can be very strong personalities. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that, you have to be able to navigate these conversations and um, understand a lot of the dynamics in your work environment. And that is a skill that you kind of have to work on and continue to refine. And we don't often talk about that. I think. I would say that one of the resources that I really rely on when it comes to anything around my job is my fellow librarians. I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but I can tell you that the most helpful advice about anything really has come from my fellow research impact librarians and my fellow bibliometricians. Like they have been super helpful. They can always point you to whatever resource, something, that they think is helpful. I would always reach out to people. In terms of actual like hard skills, again, if you want recommendations on some Python books or things that I really like, you feel free to email me. I have a massive list from my grad school days. I'm happy to share. But again, that's like, you always meet people who want to help you, who are like willing to talk to you. I would hang on to those people and, develop relationships with them. But yes, Python and SQL, whatever. I mean, if you're really starting to job hunt right now, take a look at what the job descriptions are looking for and have that guide you.
Alfredo?
Yeah, so just to complement a little bit of what both were saying, I do think that communication is very important. A lot of these, the duties in our work requires front facing. So knowing how to listen to people and how to ask questions is indeed a skill that is very rewarded in this profession. I think the other one that I will make a lot of emphasis in is, and I know that I didn't say this when I was asked, but yes, you need to get very comfortable with code. A lot of the stuff that we, more than with code, I will say it with machine readable formats. You need to get comfortable with machine readable and machine actionable formats. And this means like JSON structures. It means a lot of metadata schemas, which a lot of them are JSON structures. Because if you get comfortable with them, it's going to be easier to read documentation on the platforms that data librarians usually use, which can be for finding data or repositories. Like they all have their API, which is a way of accessing the application without a graphical interface. And that is very useful. It's something that I think any librarian, regardless of being a data librarian or not, are skills that any librarian should probably develop because a lot of the librarianship work can be easier with these tools. They can do your work easier. So just getting comfortable with it, and the same way getting comfortable with code or with reading machine readable text or machine readable formats or files. Get comfortable with how these chatbots work. I think we need to not accepting them as normal, but at least to demystify them. Like I think we should just see them as what they are. They're just tools, boxes that we actually don't know how exactly they work, but we know that what they do, which is just generate things that are similar to the data set they were trained on, and that's it. So if we actually start getting comfortable with these things, you can also start finding good use cases in your work for them, because it's the hardest thing to do with these tools. How to make them work for you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, I think we're going to skip to the Q&A just because I want to give.
I also wanted to give some resources. So the resources, of course, are our data creation network. They have primers. If you don't know how to create stuff, They have a lot of cool things there. The Turing Way is another website that I consult all the time because it has incredibly good documentation about how to do open research. So these two are like really cool like resources that you can access to.
All right, so look through the chat for some Q&A. I'm gonna drop some resources too in the chat that I prepared. I'm just gonna leave them here for anyone who wants them, but maybe I can go back to the recording and make like an Excel sheet or something and send this out to everyone. Um, let's see, Sarah, if you see any questions in the chat, let's see. I'll try to go back to the beginning. Okay, so I see a question from Beth that says the role of data management librarian typically works with research data, correct? Who typically handles the library data? Examples may be let's see, the national survey data and perhaps the data that would provide the ROI for the library. Is that a specific role or an added task? Is anyone want to speak to that question?
I can speak to this, at least here at UB. The I, as the data services librarian, we don't deal with the library's data. We actually have a couple of librarians who, and I forget what their titles are because they've changed so much over the years, but basically they're in the circulation department and discovery. And they are the ones who deal with the library's data.
See if there's any other questions I'm missing.
Yes, like what Nina said in the chat. Yes.
Oh,
I don't think we have, I don't know if we have that title, but that's basically what it is. Yeah, assessing library services. Yeah.
So earlier on, there was a question about somebody who's interested in sort of um, taking the skills that they have as a cataloger and seeing how they might be applied as a specialty to data librarianship. And so, like, is there anything that you guys can think of that would sort of transfer or be useful to pull over from maybe not just a cataloger, but other areas of librarianship?
Sorry, I keep talking, but I'll let you guys go in. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cataloging is data curation, and it's you're managing metadata. So I think it's definitely a transferable skill.
Yeah, and I think so. This is similar to what I said, like working with data in general and having good data management skills and know how databases are structured or how to make queries to a database. That can be transferred to the use of platforms that librarianships use, like making API queries, retrieving data from, I don't know, Dimensions, which is one of the platforms we use, or SciVal, or any of these things. It's technical stuff that you can use and is very helpful in the data librarianship, but also is very helpful if you are in the research impact team or if you are in collections or archival. It's still very useful because a lot of these data sets now, or at least the collections that were physical, are also kind of brought to the digital world. So this is still very relevant to know.
I just want to thank my panelists for coming today, being very open, discussing, so many layers of data librarianship and, dealing with the technical difficulties as well. Um, but I really appreciate all of your time, and I will be sending out an email with the survey, the CE credit code, and I'll compile a list of the resources that were mentioned in this recording as well. But thank you all for joining, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Take care.